Welcome to the AyBar Report. I'm here with Ryan AyBar, Cityboytimes, and we got some questions here, some Nick questions. The season isn't over yet, but the season is kind of never over when it comes to basketball. So I had a couple of questions for you guys. Obviously, you guys just fired your coach. You guys are currently looking for some candidates, and everyone has their favorites. One thing we don't really talk about too much is people that you wouldn't like, somebody that would kind of get you upset if you were to hire that person. So my first question for you guys, and I'll let City answer first. Who's a coaching hire that would upset you as a fan?
Two. I have two in mind. I'm going
Who?
to start off with Rick Brunson.
Mm,
I
mm,
don't want Rick Brunson. I don't think, I look at it as if my mom was my boss. That's the type of
mm.
relationship. I would feel like there would be too much favoritism. Having your son being the captain and your dad being the coach, I feel like that's too much power. And it's just a formula for disaster. The players are going to feel, the players already feel some type of way because they felt throughout the year. Allegedly, there was a report that he had too much power and he
Mm.
had too much to say. So it already feels like the players are like 50-50 about him. So I wouldn't want Rick Brunson to be the coach. The second one that I would say is Mark Jackson.
Mm.
Mark Jackson's been out the game too long. He's still stuck in the 90s style basketball that you want to play three stars. That doesn't work anymore. We're in a new era where nine-man lineups is what's going to get you deep into the playoffs. We don't do that three-man anymore. They said that he built the Warriors. I don't feel like he did. He started it all, but
Mm.
Steve Kerr finished like the icing on the cake.
Mm. Mm.
So I just want to correct people when they say that. I don't feel like Mark Jackson had. I feel he had 20% to do with
Mm.
the Warriors dynasty. I think Steve Kerr all the way rode that boat. So those are my two.
I like that. That's pretty good reasons too. Ryan, who are your candidates?
For me, it was also Rick Brunson.
Mm.
All for the same reasons, but outside of Rick Brunson, I think it's just anyone that has championship experience. I think the head coaching thing with championship experience is a little overrated. We haven't. I know we were talking about it the other day. We haven't really seen any coaches outside of Phil Jackson win championships with more than one organization. So I mean, Rick Carlisle has the opportunity to do it right now with the
Mm.
Pacers
Mm.
because he won with Dallas, but to me, it's overrated. I think the next hire needs to be a boring hire. It has to be a guy that nobody's really talking about.
Okay. Okay. Is Rick Brunson the only name that you could think of that would upset you as a fan, or was there another person?
Jeff Van Gundy, we've been there, done that. Like,
Yeah.
just stay away.
Yeah.
I don't even understand why his name is even being mentioned right now. Just stay away. Don't do it. Don't even think about it. Just don't. No.
I agree. I agree. Don't need to go down that route. So the next question I have for you guys is who is the biggest competition in the East and why? Little uh, kind of pretext to that question. Obviously, things are going to change, right? We don't know what's going to happen in the offseason, who's going to get signed, who's going to get traded, and stuff like that. So, as currently constructed, everybody on that East side, who do you look at and be like, we have to beat them?
Ryan, would you like to go first this time?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I think I'm gonna say Cleveland, and the only reason I'm gonna say Cleveland is because we, for the most part, we see teams that make the finals or in any sport make the Super Bowl or make the World Series the next year kind of digress a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, I think the Cavs are just only gonna get better. Um, They're a young team. They're well coached. A lot like I would put them in the same at the same table as the Pacers. For me, it would be the Cavs and the Pacers. But you know what? Damn it, I hate the Pacers. I hate the Pacers. I'm not trying to think about the Pacers. I'm gonna say the Cavs because I'm hating. I don't like Tyrese Halliburton. I don't like anything yellow. I hate Indiana. I don't even know where that shit is on the map. So I'm gonna say the Cavaliers.
What
Okay.
the hell?
City, who do you think? Who's the biggest competition when it comes to the East?
Listen, there's a lot of teams I dislike in the NBA. Boston being one of them. The Cavaliers when LeBron was there. The Pacers now. But let's be realistic. It is the Pacers. The Pacers are the team to beat, whether we accept it, whether we like it or we don't. They have literally beaten the odds in all of the rounds. They were the underdog in all rounds. They literally beat the top three teams in the East. How can you not say, that they're not the beast of the East? And Halliburton is just as much as I despise him, and I feel like New York stands with me when I say this, he's a superstar. He hits clutch shot after clutch shot after clutch shot. The moment you count that dude out and you say he's trash, is the moment he comes out and he drops 40 on your head.
Mm-hmm.
So he's
Mm-hmm.
he's he's playing like yo, get off of me, like get off me, get off my case. Like I'm showing you that
Mm-hmm.
we're the team to beat. And come next year, if they still have that same team, they're the team to beat. I feel like the Pacers are the team to beat, not only in the East, but just they're the king of the NBA right now because they're
Mm-hmm.
exciting to watch. As much as I hate to admit that, they're
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, yeah. And he was just voted the most overrated player too. And yeah, he definitely put that to bed. I didn't. I had multiple discussions with my friends about whether he was a superstar or not before the playoff started, and it was always easy to lean towards no. But since this has started, there's no way you can say he's not a superstar at this point. So the next question that I did have for you guys, I do know that um, Ryan would not want to touch anyone on the core. I never really got to speak to you about it before. But in this question, I wanted to give you guys a scenario if you did have to touch somebody on that core and take them out.
Hold on, hold on. Repeat that question in a second. Omar, you muted your mic by mistake.
No. I muted it
Yeah,
just to give you guys
yeah, I
My
the
figured it
bad.
wasn't
respect,
on mistake.
so there's
Yeah,
no
you good.
background noise when you guys are speaking.
I appreciate that.
All
All
right.
right, so I'm gonna start that over. So I wanted to ask you guys a question as far as you have a core five, pretty much your whole starting lineup. Um, all of them play an important piece. I don't know whether you guys wanted to move one of them or not, but in this scenario, if you did have to trade at least just one of them, I wanted to know who would be that person and why. And I'm gonna let City start this one.
As much as I don't want them to break up the core, I don't. But let's look at it. Let's dissect these playoffs, right? I don't know the exact number, but the plus minus with Jalen Brunson and Towns in the lineup is negative. It's -3 or -5, something like that. When Jalen Brunson's on the bench and Towns is in the lineup, it's a plus.
Mm-hmm.
On top of the lackadaisical defense that Towns and Brunson showed us, Brunson showed up defensively one game. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
If we had to break anybody out, I would say Towns. Let's get rid
Mm-hmm.
of Towns because Mikal Bridges and OG have shown you that they can step up their defense. I just think that it was a matter of you beat them to the ground during the season. You had them playing 48 minutes. What did you expect during the playoffs? That they were going to have super stamina? Not possible.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the main reason why OG and Bridges weren't playing to their full potential was because they were tired. But
Mm-hmm.
if we're going to get rid of somebody, it'd be Towns. Although I'm going to miss his offensive explosiveness, defense wins championships, man. Let's just call it what it is. Defense just wins the championships.
Nico Harris, Ryan Abar, respond.
Yeah, man. So I agree. I think obviously I don't want to touch the core. I want to see another year with this core with the right head coach who's going to take us ultimately to that next level. I think if it's this year, if it is this year that we break up the core, I think it has to be Karl Anthony Towns. I agree. Just because of what he's getting paid and what he's going to be getting paid after these next two seasons. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
However, let's just say we have another successful year, another successful season, and Karl Anthony Towns has an even better season because I think people forget that Karl Anthony Towns had the best season of his career this year. So he averaged a career high in points, career high in rebounds, and a career high in field goal percentage. But if it is after this year and we have to touch the core next year, I think it's got to be OG Anunoby because of the contract. I think it's gonna have to end up being one of those two contracts that we're gonna have to end up getting rid of sometime within the next season or two.
City, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, respectfully, I would not get rid of OG. If there's one person that we should leave on the team, it should be OG. Again, I absolutely agree with you with what you're saying about Towns. Towns had a spectacular year, but we have to also take time to look at his numbers defensively. He's a defensive liability. Poor communication. He gets destroyed on the pick and roll. Loses who's he's defending, as you saw in the playoffs. He kept even saying, "Siakam open, wide open." All Siakam had to do was just walk to the rim. His transition defense is horrible. There's good things and there's bad things, but like I said, ultimately defense is what wins the championships. If you can't hold your man accountable on defense, you're gonna lose. You're giving them literally 3 points.
Yeah, so I'm not saying I would like to get rid of OG. I agree with you because I don't. I love OG. I think he's like a lesser version of like 2019 Kawhi Leonard at times. Like that's what he is when he's at his best. That's what he is. But if we have to, I think it's got to be one of those two. If it's not Cat this year and he has a great year and we have a successful run, it's probably going to be OG just because for the sake of financial reasons and the way these contracts are structured, those are the biggest two contracts on our roster. And Mikal Bridges is due for an extension for 156 mil after this season, which is just and guess what? I hate to break it to you, but you give up 5 first-round picks for a guy, you're gonna have to extend him. So it's got to be one of those two. If it's not Cat, and when we do have a successful year with Cat, and he has another great year, hopefully for the sake of the Knicks, he has a better year, and we have an even more successful run. It's probably going to be OG.
So, question before we move on to the next question: does what you get in return change anything? Like, if you know that you can get more for, let's say, OG than you can for Cat, would that then make you consider trading OG rather than Cat, or do you prefer to get rid of the person you think would be less of a fit on your core?
I would much more prefer to get rid of Towns because, like Ryan said, he gets paid 53 this year. Next year's like
Mhm.
57, and then the last year of his
Right,
contract's like 61.
crazy.
That's a crazy hard cap hit right there. We get like if we hopefully we don't we have a bad year. Like Towns
Mhm.
needs to go. Towns needs to
But
go.
even because of that contract, if you know that him having that contract makes it harder to move him, therefore making your return a lot less, you're still cool with just let's just get him off out of these five. This is the person that has to go because that.
The playoffs have just scared me because of the depth.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
I want to stick with the depth. I
yeah,
don't want
yeah.
to get rid of the guys that I know can come in. I'm Towns. I don't want to get rid of Towns, but if we have to, that would be
If you
my.
had to,
I would still stick with getting
gotcha.
rid of Towns.
Same thing with you, Ryan. Even if you know you could get less for Towns than you would for, let's say, like a OG or a Josh Hart or something like that, because their contracts are a little easier to move. Would you still rather get rid of Towns, or would you lean towards getting rid of one of those other guys?
I think I would probably lean towards getting rid of Towns more. As much as I stick up for the guy,
Yeah, yeah.
he's not really gonna age well. He's he's barely above the rim at his size. Um and he's not a good defender like at all.
Yeah.
And it's scary like to wonder what he's gonna look like even in the third year of his current contract. Like
Mhm.
it's scary to me. It is. So it'll
Okay.
probably have to be Cat.
I respect it. I respect it. So for this next question, I'm gonna want Ryan to answer first because he kind of came up with this question, and this question is going to be: do you think that Knicks organization is in desperation mode,
Yes.
and why so?
So during last year's offseason, actually, I'll just put it this way. Our past few acquisitions, like big acquisitions. I'm talking OG, I'm talking Cat, I'm talking Bridges, right? Did we hear the noise, the same kind of noise that we heard about those trades before those trades actually happened compared to the noise surrounding KD and Giannis?
Probably not.
No. No, we
Mm.
didn't,
No,
right?
no, we did not.
And so that's what scares me
Mhm.
is like I feel like right now after firing head coach Tom Thibodeau, as quickly as we did. I mean, it's been what, a week, better part of a week now. You know, I think, well, I hope there's a coach lined up, but every day longer, every day that we let this thing drag out longer, it's like we're hearing more buzz about Jason Kidd and all these other names, and it's like, well, if we're not announcing our head coach, that tells me that nothing is off the table as far as roster moves go, which also tells me that even after a season where you make it to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years, the Knicks are looking to make a splash even after that. As my boy Cat would say, after all that, right? Like that's scary to me. That is terrifying because guess what? The truth of the reality is I've been a Knicks fan my whole life. I know I haven't witnessed or experienced as much as other Knicks fans, the older Knicks fan, but I've seen us make some just bizarre, ridiculous, crazy moves to the point where like now I'm terrified. I think we're desperate in the sense of we're so close, and because it's New York and because it's the New York fan, and because expectations are somewhere they haven't been in forever, probably for my entire lifetime, it feels like a panic. It feels like a panic when you fire a head coach that got you to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years, yet, you know, we haven't announced another head coach yet, and we're getting all this buzz about big trades. I mean, it's terrifying. It feels like it's we're panicking. That's what it feels like.
What's your response, City?
I don't think they're desperate at all. I don't
Okay.
think they're. I think this is the stable that the franchise has been in the last 20 years. I think evidence shows that Leon Rose and Worldwide West, have been entrusted the job of making this team better. In which I agree. If they had to get a grade for what they've done in the past couple of years, I would give them an A+. Because before that, the Knicks used to be the laughing stock of the NBA. 17 wins, ridiculous players trying to mesh superstars that made no sense with each other. I think that all of that had also to contribute with James Dolan. James Dolan stuck his hand where it didn't belong, has no basketball knowledge. Just because you got three superstars doesn't mean you're going to win. We all know that.
Mhm.
I don't think I don't think they're desperate at all. I think they're just trying to establish themselves. They got a little taste of championship, so they're trying to better the team. And I feel like the upcoming days is going to be proof of that. And I think that James Dolan is going to take a seat back. I think the only thing that he had was to fire Thibodeau. I think he had a lot to do with that.
Mhm.
But based on the moves, I think it's going to be Leon Rose and Worldwide West that's going to be in charge of that. So I don't think they're in desperation at all. They're in championship mode. I think that's my opinion. They're trying to have the biggest offseason, and that it's going to translate to the season.
See, and that's what scares me. You said it, which I didn't even mention. James Dolan. You said you think that he had a lot to do with the firing of Tom Thibodeau. That is what absolutely terrifies me. Why? Because if you didn't know, Tibbs, Jalen Brunson, and Leon Rose, they all have a strong, obviously including Rick Brunson, they all have a strong history together. Great, phenomenal bond that dates way back when Leon Rose was brought in here. He brought in um, uh, Jalen Brunson. Um, that was the first thing that came out. Jalen Brunson is actually Leon Rose's godson. Now, the reason that scares me because I think James Dolan did have a lot to do with the firing of Tom Thibodeau. I mean, because what were we hearing coming into up or leading up to the actual firing is, well, Tom Thibodeau's job security is for the most part is secure. Leon Rose is a-okay with Tom Thibodeau. Ultimately, James Dolan is the yay or nay sayer. And if James Dolan made this decision, I'm I'm scared. I'm absolutely scared because we've seen what James Dolan has done in the past. He's not a basketball owner. He's a businessman who knows nothing about the game of basketball. And the best thing he ever did was step back and let Leon Rose run the show. However, if he's the one who pulled the trigger on this, even after what Jalen Brunson said during that post game, I know that's what he's supposed to say, but he was very adamant about Tom Tibbs being the guy. If James Dolan pulled the trigger on this, it just feels like we're one move away from everything just setting us back 5-10 years. That's what it feels like.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I don't feel like James Dolan is gonna have much of a say in the trade. I think he's gonna get Leon Rose. He's gonna allow Leon Rose and World Wide West to handle this. What I think was, as an owner, he was very frustrated in the fact that the reason why he got fired, I believe, it wasn't because of the playoffs. It was all throughout the year. There was a stat that came out that McBride played a total of 49 minutes in the season.
Okay.
Yeah, bench players got only 49 minutes.
And he's like
Come
the
on.
seventh man too. He's not even low on the bench.
Like,
He's
like, like, let's call it what it is. We like Tibbs, but come on, it's like, brother, like, what are you doing? You're running your court to the ground. You're not using your bench. You don't trust your bench. And then what got me a little bit ticked was you threw them out there during the playoffs and expect them to mesh with each other when you didn't
Mhm.
give them the opportunity during the season to build up to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Do you think that the bench on the Pacers are stars? No. They just had time to mesh with each other and complement their game. That's why they look like superstars out there because, respectfully, the Knicks look mediocre out there. So, of course, they're going to look like superstars. That's the one thing that really ticked me off about Tibbs. And I think James Dolan sat back and was just very, very, very frustrated with that because the
Mhm.
Knicks did have a chance to advance. Had they used that bench, the Knicks were a better team. Let's call it what it is.
So my question would be if, because I agree with you guys when when James Dolan decided to take a step back and let somebody else run the organization. Ever since that moment, it's just been good move after good move. One of those good moves was also Tibbs. So for James Dolan to see the franchise starting to blossom the way it has been in the past 5 years, to then make a split decision to fire somebody, which he would most likely have to go over people's head to do that, because like you said, the core is kind of very, very close together when it comes to the coaches, the head assistant coaches and stuff like that. So for him to then start meddling, even though you guys have just made it the furthest you have been in 25 years, do you think that then starts a trickle effect to the rest of the Knicks organization, to the staff, to the players and stuff like that?
As far
If
as
this is
what?
a James Dolan decision that he decided to fire Tibbs, even though everyone was on board of keeping Tibbs, do you think that that decision then starts that snowball effect of, okay, who's really making decisions here? Am I really safe in my position? Am I going to be traded? Or as a coach, am I going to be fired? Do you think that starts going into the organization and start like kind of like a virus a little bit?
Absolutely, because I mean, our star player, Jalen Brunson, right? He is a Tibbs guy. Now, if a decision like that obviously still has to be run by your star player, hopefully it was.
Yeah,
I
I would
don't
hope.
think I don't think it wasn't, but you never know with a guy like James Dolan. You just never know, especially if he was the one to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Now, if the decision was not run by Jalen Brunson and this was a James Dolan decision, oh, absolutely. Your star player is all in for Coach Tom Thibodeau. Uh, on top of there already being prior, for the most part, pretty much family history there. Absolutely. And then not to mention that's your team captain. Like, yeah. And then it leaves everybody looking at each other like, well,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
who's really calling the shots here? And then it leaves that obviously all these guys understand that the NBA is a business, but it kind of leaves that like, bro, I don't think your job is safe. I don't think
Mhm.
your job is safe. And
Mhm.
it's a recipe for disaster if that was the case. And if it was a James Dolan decision.
If it's James
I
Dolan, yeah.
I think for the most part, this was an actual player's decision. I think there's a lot I think the Knicks players did a really good job of keeping things in the locker room. I'm sure there's a lot of players that were not a fan of Tom Thibodeau, with Mikal Bridges questioning why he's playing so many minutes, to Josh Hart. I don't know if you guys saw that clip. Josh Hart going back and forth with Tom Thibodeau during one of the games. OG and Anunoby, like there was some locker room issues there, and not to mention Tibbs and his prior negative history with Karl Anthony Towns and him having issues with Cat anyways already to begin with. I think this was a player's decision, but there's no doubt in my mind that there is a real possibility that it was ultimately a James Dolan decision. And if it was a James Dolan decision, I'm scared.
City.
I just think that it wasn't a James Dolan. I think that
Okay.
internally, it's an evaluation of the coach and the job that you've done throughout the year. And I think that what the players were truth. They spoke the truth. They spoke the good and the bad. They probably said he's a good coach. We respect him, but he just plays us too many minutes. He doesn't give us a chance to rest. I think that ultimately every single player on that team had more good than bad. But the bad part is like what I said before, the minutes that he plays the core. That is not good. You're gonna run them to the ground. You're gonna get them injured. That's what I think everybody was on the same page on. He's a good
Mhm.
coach, but he plays us too many minutes. He doesn't use the bench. We're getting paid free money, literally. McBride got free money this year because he didn't even play that much.
Mhm.
Like I think that's ultimately what led to it. Like I think it was the captain had something, to do with it. They spoke to him, and he was just honest. And I think the rest of the team was honest too. I think James only just heard the team out.
So back to what you said before with Mark Jackson having about a 20% hand in that championship team and trying to kind of little build the core. They brought somebody in to then take it to that next level. Do you think this is the type of situation that's happening here? Tibbs got you to a point that you haven't been in 25 years. And even though that's amazing, you don't think he's that person that's going to get you over that hump. So now you fire him, try to get somebody else that you think is going to get you to that hump. Is that what's happening here?
I think so because it's like we spoke before at the beginning of the recording. Um, this is not the NBA of 2010 where you had Bosh, Wayne, and LeBron and those guys, and all you needed was average players, and you'll
Mhm.
sail to the finals. That's not the case anymore. Your bench, the NBA now with the bench that they have now, you have people that'll drop 20, 30 from the bench or lock you
Mhm.
down the whole game.
Mhm.
So I feel like Tibbs is his coaching style is out of date. It's
Yeah.
outdated. This is not the 90s or the early 2000s anymore. You have to get on with it. Like you have to get on board with everything that's happening in the NBA because if not, the Pacers series will show you we got demolished because of that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
I think the only way Tom Thibodeau becomes Mark Jackson like is if we obviously keep our core together, and then we obviously win an NBA championship. But it is very, very, very similar.
It does feel
Um,
similar.
and it looks like it could unravel that way. I'm not saying the Knicks are going to be a Warriors dynasty, although one could only hope. but but yeah, it feels that way. The Warriors kept their core together. I think we need to keep our core together. There's a lot of good veteran players that could potentially take less, that could help us off this bench and help us win. We gotta run it back.
Mhm. Sounds good. Sounds good. I agree with everything you guys are saying, especially with you need a coach that's going to play your bench players. You need people to get chemistry. The players don't know how to play with each other, and then you throw them into the lineup during the playoffs, do or die time, going against a team that has been playing together since the beginning of the season. So even though if you look at the rosters, you guys should have beat the Pacers probably 4-0, 4-1. But when it comes to playing as a team, it was not even close. They were the better team, and they've been the better team this whole play. They just beat the freaking Thunder. Like it's insane, and they were losing by like what 19, 18, something like that. Uh,
Yeah, in the fourth quarter, we're down. They were down 15. That listen to this. They had 25 turnovers in total. You should have lost that game because
That's
turnovers
scary.
turn into
That is
points.
that is scary.
An average team only averages 10 turnovers the whole game. They
they had
averaged
19
Hmm.
in the
25
in the
in the
first
first half,
half,
19.
19. But
You,
they
you
were
should have been down by 30 at that point.
And even at
Mhm.
that point, by half, I think they were only down by 11.
That's what I'm
So
saying. Like, I don't
it
like
just they
training.
play so well together. And then back to what Ryan said, they have a great coach. They have a great coach, and that's what keeps them together. So hopefully you guys can find somebody that can kind of keep you guys on track, keep the core together.